We saw the United Nations, of course, recognizing the World Radio Day in 2013. And it's not necessarily because that's when radio started, but it's been rather a journey and looking at how to actually recognize the power of this mass media. Talk to me as a person that actually is a media owner in the country. How do you see radio having such an impact in Rwanda for a start?
Well, I think we're in changing times anyway. So even coming in and to bring radio in only 5 years ago, to suddenly remember, we almost at the end of the monopoly of the radio.
All right.
Because radio, not just in Rwanda, has played a great role since the beginning. Just think about like different world wars who have been, even during World War II, you know, how people were getting information from beyond the enemy lines and stuff like that.
True.
But then also the whole colonial thing where people were telling stories in the metropoles where they were coming from those countries that nobody could see. But so they would tell a story, you know, and so it really impacted the I would say the collective subconsciousness of humanity in general, you know, so radio has been a powerful medium to connect people, to get information and all that, and so was it in Rwanda. And by the way, one of to tell you my story, to go straight to the point, actually, before 2004, I used to be, like you say, I'm also a musician, and I've been a producer.
But you still are a musician even
I am
today.
still, and because I'm the oldest teenager of this country.
Oh,
anyway.
true.
So,
Yeah,
so
that's definitely true.
I'll have to stay there.
All right.
But the thing is that I was also producing artists, you know, and at the end, I was starting to give up on producing them. Not because they were bad, they were so good, but without media, you don't have a creative industry. Media is the most fundamental link, in fact, to share the creativity of people. So in those days, there was only a state radio. It was Orinfor. And the people there...
That is the current RBA right now.
No, well, no, RBA is really an evolution, so you don't compare them. it's another world. You know, RBA really embraced the modernity of the concept of media. So they did a great jump, actually, becoming RBA. But Orinfor, people still didn't understand what they were supposed to do. And they were just focused on one thing, and it was just government. You know?
Yeah.
It wasn't about the society, actually, in reality. So whatever you would produce would end up to be just for the ego of the artist, but not anything else. So I was amongst the people who advocated with others to liberalize the airwaves. And actually, that is how we signed our first licenses in 2004. That was the beginning. There was just a couple of us. And from then, the talents that had been there anyway suddenly became stars because we started to produce our local guys, and to refresh memories also with more older stuff that we had from before, from during the struggle, and even from since the you know. So that was at least the entertaining part of it.
Yeah. Albert, let me pick up from there. You're speaking about the struggle, and of course I want to look definitely on the theme. The theme this year for World Radio Day is dialogue, tolerance, and peace. Now, anyone that knows the story of Rwanda would definitely take you back to 1992, all the way to 1994, when the conversations on radio were about, you know, sensitizing the public to go out there and kill their fellow Rwandans.
That was RTLM.
Right? That was RTLM, right?
Infamous genocide radio.
But how has...
But there was also Muhabura.
But Muhabura came on just along the way, as this has already started before, yeah?
No, actually, it was. I mean, it's the same season.
Yes,
it's not really that Muhabura. Of course, the liberation movement needed to have also a way to talk straight to the population.
Sure.
You know, so there was some other information, but of course, RTLM was very powerful because first of all, it was in FM. The other one was in shortwave. But secondly, also these guys had all the means.
Sure.
They were not in the jungle. They were not, in trenches. They were there in the studios, and they had means. And actually, they had some people who were very talented. So the evil message that was entwined in the whole narrative
Sure.
got really across, and people would swallow it. And people would follow some guidelines given out on air.
Yeah. So now when you look at that story, how do you compare it with when you see Rwanda having more than 30 radio stations, both private and, government-backed radio stations? How does the case of dialogue come at play? And how do we see also freedom of speech being spoken about back and forth? We've seen so many international organizations, just like I said, accusing Rwanda of actually having little to, very, very limited press freedom. So tell me, from your end, how do you see that, post-1994 conversation?
Yeah. Well, I think we've been places already, so it's a bit late to even to come back on the radio, because now the media has multiplied, and I mean to just focus on radio when you have social media, and you're talking about free speech. I mean, free speech was at the time when it was cool to see a guy standing on a stool in the middle of people and start talking, and you would advocate for him because, let him speak. But now everybody has a stool and everybody wants to say something, and then we have an overdoses of people just saying anything,
Unregulated social media.
And unregulated, but it's not just, it's unregulated multiplied media, because it's not just social media. I mean, it can also be just website who are not exactly like a social media, but like with the ambition to be like a source of information. So free speech is now something that is really needs to be even redefined somehow. Now, when it comes to radio, I think we beyond the thing of dialogue, because it has played a role. By the way, on Contact, I think, if you remember well, we were the first one also to commemorate.
All right.
And we had a commemoration on the 7th at the radio, and we had the whole week just giving. We gave the radio to actually the survivors. And people would come and testify. Their testimonies were very important, because suddenly they were talking. They had never been talking before 2004. People had kept their stories, And in the beginning, that was so incredible, actually. And I don't know if you know, but we even had this thing that happened one day. I think it was around 2006 or 7. That one day, one guy called in and said, "You know what? We'll do it again."
Okay.
And because it was a mobile phone, it was traceable.
Yeah.
So they eventually called the guy. I don't know what happened, but he got in prison in those days. Looking at his age, he wasn't that adult in those days. So, but that shows you that the dialogue was still needed, was still going on in Rwanda. And but today, my opinion, I don't know, but I feel like we're somehow empty in content.
All right. Empty on content. But talk to me about, of course, finalizing with this conversation, we want to know where the money is. When you see the rising competition.
Africa has missed so many steps.
Okay.
Let me tell you, from the beginning, the narrative, the storyline, when you're addressing to a large group, you make the end consumer pay. A priest can be poor, a nun can be poor, but the church is rich. Okay. They know how they make the end consumer.
Who's rich, who's poor here?
The end consumer contributes to pay for that narrative. In Europe, and let's take that as a model. Don't look at the United States of America. That's something that out of. In Europe, every household contributes to the narrative. Every household pays yearly a tax, that goes to a collective fund that will, first of all, bake the cake, on which public and private media actually can benefit from. And advertisement
All
is
right.
the ice on the cake.
Albert, all right. Thank you for creating time.
So
to
let
speak
me
to us.
just tell you the little thing, the last thing, because I know time is running.
Okay.
There is no advertisement budget in this country. So if you are ready to pay for your security at home, for collection of taxes or of waste, for parking,
Okay.
and you are ready to pay for that, you should be ready because you are listening or you're watching TV.